Savvy Business Radio, drawing out the best from our guests with our host, Christina Nichman.
Our guest today is Eric Dahan, co-founder of Open Influence. Open Influence connects creators and influencers together. Their platform gives access to hundreds of thousands of global influencers across Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and many other social platforms. Once influencers are approved, they facilitate all aspects of the influencer-advertiser relationship. Today, Dahan shares more about how they came to creating this very important platform and how they are changing the relationship between advertiser and influencers. Find out more at openinfluence.com. Hi, Eric. Welcome to Savvy Business Radio. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. And you're the CEO and co-founder of Open Influence. And you're a global influencer marketing company that's helped more than 1,000 companies out there. And we're going to get into marketing and branding later on. But before we go there, share with our audience a little bit about your background and how did Open Influence come to be?
Yeah. So the company was really an accident. I had a few companies throughout college, and we were we had a flash sales company at the time.
Mm-hmm.
By we, it was myself, my best friend Felix, my co-founder, and brother Alex as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had a flash sales app, back in, I want to say 2012. And we were looking for a way to market the app. And we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't raise any money. And, Alex really tapped into this community of people on apps like Instagram at the time, of people that weren't necessarily celebrities, but had a following, maybe 20, 30,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, okay, let's work with these people and see if they could promote our app. And, we gave it a try, and we saw thousands of downloads coming in.
Wow.
And so we started building a really good community.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, we were struggling on the margin side of the business, where we realized, okay, well, we're making money from affiliate commissions, and affiliate commissions are very, very low. We're talking anywhere from 2 to maybe 10% if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And so, we can't scale a business on those margins, based on, sort of the model and that industry. And so we went to a trade show in Vegas, a fashion trade show, and we started walking around the trade show floors and trying to get brands to sign up directly onto our app. Mm-hmm. And we actually found that brands were more interested in how we were marketing the app than the app itself. So after 3 or 4 pitches, we said, hold on, we're doing something wrong. Let's try something new. Mm. So I went up to one of the brands and said, hey, we have marketing capabilities. Mm-hmm. That's for this app that we've built. And I just opened the back end for our app, and they were blown away. I said, sign me up. And that was really the start of Open Influence. Back then it was called Instabrand. Mm-hmm. And we rebranded last year to Open Influence, but that was really sort of the start. And the interesting thing is, my brother's a creative and really understands content. Mm-hmm. Felix and I have backgrounds in business and economics, and a little bit more academic driven, I would say, in terms of our approach. And so, at a time when the talent industry was full of people that were really relationship driven, and what circles are you in, who's your friend, we came at it from an angle of how do we scale this up, how do we treat it like an economy, how do we treat it like a real marketplace, where's the value proposition along the way. And so we took very early on a very scalable approach, and then Alex added the perspective of, we're talking about influencers who create native content. How do we make sure that content's good? And how do we build that into the offering? So we came together to really form, I think, an offering accidentally that was perfect for the industry.
Wow. And this just goes to explain the whole idea of entrepreneurship. Really, you have a problem, and your problem was, how do we get this app in everyone's hand and get it explosive out there? And in doing that, you realize, wait a second, we're looking at getting funding for this app when how we got it out there was what people really want. Let's just make that into a product. And that's how entrepreneurship works. People see a problem, be like, hey, I have a solution to it. Let me offer it to the marketplace, and bam, now you have a new company. What for you, and now it kind of seems like this was a happy accident. What for you guys being entrepreneurs is kind of like the biggest challenge of running your businesses?
It depends what day you ask, I think.
Ah!
Uh,
Funding some days, other days.
yeah. It's a moving target, I think, is what you have to realize as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There's no silver bullet. There's no secret. It's almost like you just have to jump in and just do.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I love that. Do.
yeah,
Don't think, do.
yeah. One of the worst things you could do is nothing, right? Making no decision is a decision in itself.
Mhm.
And so, I think, the biggest challenge, for
Mhm.
example, that we faced early on, we were, again, we bootstrapped the business with zero funding.
Mhm.
We were operating out of, my dining room apartment. Felix and I had an apartment together in LA, and so we were operating out of that. It was maybe 10 monitors on a dining room table, 100 cans of Coke Zero stacked up,
I've been
uh,
there.
and like an Xbox in the corner, and like we were putting in those 14-hour days,
Mm.
and we would essentially sell a campaign for a few $1,000s,
Mhm.
and sort of use that to then build our network of influencers and kind of get it going. And so I
Mhm.
think the challenge for us early on was we were a first mover in our industry,
Mhm.
and 4 months, 5 months in, our industry started getting attention of bigger players. So we were in a dining room competing with you know fairly large companies and established companies,
Mhm.
and so it was pretty stressful to kind of war game and navigate that situation, but
Yeah.
it was pretty fun.
What I'm getting from you earlier on is that you mentioned that your team each have different ways of going about things. You said you have a little bit more finance and heady, and your friends a little bit more creative, which is great. I think when you have an entrepreneurial team, you really need all those different angles of looking at different problems, because sometimes you need a creative approach and sometimes you need a more heady rational approach or financial approach to things. Do you feel that having a good team has really been what's really helped you spur into the marketplace really huge?
Yeah. I think you know if you think about it, like, you need to complement each other for sure.
Yeah.
Early on, the time I think the biggest jump you could take is not going from 1 to 60. It's going from 0 to 1, right? Getting something off the ground is the hardest part of it all. And so having good partners early on makes a massive difference, right? Because time is so crucial when you're getting things off the ground. And it, by having, in my case, we had another co-founder as well, but having 2 to 3 people, uh, you know, in the trenches with me, and all together really working was extremely motivating. It allowed us to sort of divide and conquer and get a lot more done a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think what's key is we're all different. We all have our strengths, but
Mm.
the important part is that we all speak the same language, meaning we could sit down in a room and have a conversation, and and see eye to eye, even though we all have our sort of different approaches to things.
Mhm. And so what I'm getting from that as well is that respect is a big part of that, as well as being able to respect each a different viewpoint and way to go about it, so that you can come to the same conclusions. You can disagree or see things differently, but you work together to get the common goal done.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's so important to have a good team. But as well, you mentioned early on in our interview here, right here, is doing. And I talked to so many businesses who are struggling, who they get into a point like, well, let me just think about it. Let me read one more book. Let me go to one more course. And sometimes what I'm getting from you is that you cross correct. You start to get the clients who are like, okay, now what are we going to do about it? And you just keep moving one step in front of another, A, B, C, D, but don't stop. It's that momentum, correct?
Yep. Yep. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you gotta, you know, it's kind of like a great analogy would be like, sailing a ship, right? Like, and you can imagine, whether it's stormy outside or, there are waves or what have you, you have your destination that you want to get to,
Mhm.
and you figure out what's the best course to get there, kind of weighing all the decisions along the way. So, y- yeah, I mean, I think education is extremely important, but it has to be active and applied. You have to learn as you go.
Yeah.
You can never hit the pause button. Once you start, there's no pause.
That's right. You got to keep going. Yeah. Explain for our audience a little bit. Explain your open influence. What's it all about and how does it work?
Yeah, so we are a demand side influencer network, which means uh, the brand or the advertiser is our client. We don't represent talent exclusively. We work with over 300,000 influencers on social media across the world, but across all the different platforms as well. And the way it works is we run, large scale campaigns for large advertisers.
Okay. So say someone calls you up and they're a huge company and they have a campaign they want to run. What does it look like when they first call you up and get started?
Yeah, so we've the first thing we've built is, influencers are people. They're not ad units to be placed on. So programmatic doesn't really work.
Yeah.
And so to build that marketplace, we gathered a ton of data just from being a first mover in the space on influencer pricing, on influencer performance stats across our entire network, and this allows us to build out predictive analytics before we start a campaign.
Hmm.
So we know that, if a client has, a budget of $50,000 or $100,000, we can, and they're looking to target a specific audience, we can, without selling individual names, we can go through our entire system and say, here's how many people we're going to reach, here's the number of views we're going to get, here's how many influencers we're going to work with, here are the number of posts, here are the platforms, and we can really guarantee all the metrics before we start off. And that's exactly what we do. Because we have all this data, we're actually able to guarantee all the metrics. And it might sound straightforward, but it's extremely challenging in our industry without the infrastructure to do that, because influencers pricing is all over the map. Influencers uh, are not always the most professional to work with. And so if you look at it, we built this whole system to really streamline it and scale.
Hmm. Now, let's talk a little bit with the audience to share with them what exactly is an influencer. Is a person with reach and people want to be connected to them, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of terms, and now that it's become sort of a buzzword, people are applying the word influencer to everything,
Yeah.
and, and um,
Audiobooks are great for helping you be a better you, whether you want to feel healthier, get motivated, or learn something new. Audible, our sponsor this episode, has been instrumental with helping us at Savvy Business Radio, helps us stay on top of our great authors, along with some great titles that we personally love, such as Think and Grow Rich and The Way of the Wolf. Audible helps you listen to more books by helping you switch seamlessly between devices, picking up exactly where you left off. You can get through tons of books, hands and eyes free, while you do almost anything. Audible members also get credit every month, good for any audiobook in their store, regardless of the price. And unused credits roll over to the next month. You don't like your audiobook? You can exchange it, no questions asked ever. Plus, your books are yours to keep. With Audible, you can go back anytime and re-listen, even if you cancel your membership. So get started today and get your first audiobook free. Go to audible.com/SBR or text SBR to 500-500. Again, go to audible.com/SBR or text SBR to 500-500.
But in our definition, it's pretty focused. We look at someone with at least 10,000 followers on their primary social platform and up. 10,000 is sort of that minimum, but we'll look at an influencer in really three sort of categories. So we have our short tail, and so these are people with a lot of followers and very few and short, right? They're high up on that graph. And then that sort of goes all the way down to long tail. And then in the middle, you have your mid tail. And so depending on what industry you're going after, those follower ranges may differ, but the idea is still the same. Your short tail is your sort of mega influencer or your celebrity, and your long tail is your micro influencer.
Yeah. Now I can get celebrities because I know we all know that they are definitely influencers. People want to know what's going on with them. They want to follow them. They want to do what they're doing. But now what I'm wondering, and I've heard this in the industry that's made the industry a little hairy, is that there's a lot of people buying, and there's kind of fakeness out there, like people buying clicks or buying Twitter followers or whatever. How do you know that someone has a good following and it's not just like bot following?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of analysis before we onboard influencers. We also look at, our system looks at quite a few signals because, the truth is fake, there are certain things that fake followers and bots and click farms don't do that real people do. And there are certain things that are just hard for those bots to replicate just from a sheer cost standpoint. And so, we look at those signals. We also have very strong contracts in place with our talent and definitive terms around fake followers. And then we go through a qualitative vetting as well, where we look at the influencer over a course of time, and as well from a content perspective, to make sure that even if there are likes and engagements and their views are real, they're not the result of them gaming, real people to do it for the wrong reason. So we have a lot of steps that we take, and it's interesting now that this is in the news because it's been something that's been top of mind for the past, I want to say 3.5-4 years for us.
Do you use a qualified source like Double Verify to verify any of these numbers with the?
Yeah, I mean, our industry is so new still, right? And we've been around for over 5 years, but we're still in the wild west of this industry. So we found that it's kind of like if you want something done right, do it yourself. That's kind of been our approach, just because we're all for partnering and where it makes sense, but the industry's just been so new, and we're pretty particular with what we want and what we expect. We built our brand around working with the most premium advertisers out there, and the most discerning advertisers and brands out there. So our clients need the best, we need to do the best, and so we built a lot of the stuff that we use. It's all proprietary, and we're very hands-on with our product team, our engineering team, myself, my co-founders, our account management team, our account exec team. Really, everyone across the board is really working to refine and leverage our institutional knowledge to build the best best product possible.
Yeah, well, you must get big advertisers like that on your platform. They've got to know that there's something they can trust. Now, you mentioned interestingly that some of the influencers are sometimes difficult or unprofessional. Why do you find that? How does that work out? Is it because they feel they're so full of themselves, or?
Sometimes, I mean, they're people, right? And so, with people, you get everything. We work oftentimes with really amazing influencers that are highly professional and that are really, a pleasure to work with and produce excellent content. But we also work with influencers that, produce excellent content, but need a lot of hand-holding through that process. We work with influencers that are sometimes less reliable. We work with influencers that are sometimes unreasonable, or sometimes they're excellent content creators and they're grassroots content creators, and so they don't have the same sort of professional grooming per se, that you can expect from a corporate background. And so a big part of what we do in the value proposition is, we manage the entire process for the advertisers, but we just have so much data and experience and institutional knowledge in terms of, the ins and outs of how to work, who to work with, what the shortfalls are of some influencers, what the strengths are of others, and and also everything from all the different variables involved in an influencer agreement, like the usage rights of the content, deliverables. Is there travel involved? Is there some sort of appearance involved? Like sort of everything from A to Z, right? And so it's a big part of what we do, and it's like herding cats sometimes working with influencers.
That's a funny description. But I mean, people are people. And it seems to me like a good portion of what you guys do is offer quality, exceptional customer care, which is necessary not only from the influencer standpoint, but also for your advertisers.
Yeah, exactly. It's again just streamlining the entire process for our clients. Our brands. We're working with one influencer. It makes sense to go. We often say, like, if you're going to work with a celebrity to be the face of your brand, just work with them directly. We don't want to. We're not middlemen, and that's not our positioning, right? We add a ton of value because for the brands to go and do this, one, the sourcing requirements are huge, just from building out a full team to do it, building out the expertise, right? We run, dozens and dozens of campaigns per month with thousands of influencer transactions per month. We run at such a scale where we could do more, more efficiently than for a brand to scale that entire team. The other thing too is brands, they want to focus. Their team needs to focus their expertise on the bigger picture, not hunting someone down because they didn't post because they had a bad hair day. And so, that's the other aspect. And the data, brands actually, when they work with us, they'll pay less on an effective, metric, whether it's an effective cost per view or an effective CPM or what have you, with us, just because, we run at such a volume again. We can get them far better rates than if they're going to go direct to talent. So, we do add value from a cost perspective alone, but then just from a certainty and execution standpoint, right? The last thing you want to do as a brand is spend $100,000 on a full-fledged market campaign for a product launch, and then only to find that the influencers really didn't post what you wanted them to post. The messaging was off. Like you can't get that time back.
Yeah, you can't get the time back. And how do you verify working with the influencers? Do you go out and get them? Do they come in droves to you and you have to sift through them? Or how does that work, that you find the best influencers out there for your advertisers?
Yeah, it's both, right? Every day we have signups and what we call opt-in influencers. These are the people, saying, hey, we want to work with you. We don't just rely on that because like any marketplace, you want to get a full view of all the players in that marketplace to make your decision. So we also index influencers and, reach out to influencers constantly. So we've really built our network through both opt-in and influencers we reach out to.
Great. So anyone listening, because we have a variety of marketing companies, advertisers, and of course, other businesses that might be great influencers. How do either side, whether they're an advertiser who is like, hey, we need you to help us get a campaign out, or if you're an influencer and I think I might be able to help you guys, how can either of them get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, they can go to our site and just, as simple as fill out a form. Takes 2 seconds, and then from there, we'll hop on a call or bounce back and forth on email, and really just figure out what they're looking for, and start building from there.
Share some of the campaigns you've worked with some of the, what do they look like, some of the big campaigns you've done, and how did it work out?
Yeah, I just have to be careful in terms of what we can share, but
Well, don't share names. That's fine. No
yeah, uh,
names.
I'll pick some. I'll pick some good examples. One of my favorite campaigns was, and we could share this. We won an award for it actually in Europe, a Media Key Award. It was our work with Nestle for San Pellegrino.
Mm.
And what I really loved about the campaign was, they gave us a very sort of short creative brief. It was just color, right? And so we went in and we understood that, San Pellegrino wanted to, have some of that pop, become a more young, relevant brand for one of their new sort of product launches. But at the same time, it's a very elegant brand, right? It's, and so we went through and we said, okay, how do we make this feel young and relevant, but also keep the elegance of the brand? And so what we did is we worked on a content style that incorporated, various flat lays and various, fruit and patterns and sort of mashed all this up together where everything we knew would really perform well. And we've seen through the data perform well together. We formed a creative strategy from that. And then essentially, our process does something called creating content DNA. So the same way a brand has brand DNA where you can recognize it, it has a special look and a feel. We create content DNA. So you should be able to look at a piece of content from a campaign and immediately know that it's connected to, the content from the various influencers is connected to one another, even though the influences are completely different. So another part of the balancing act is, how do we create that consistency, right? Because it's not the first time you hear something or see something that it sticks. It's the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, so on time that you engage with something that starts to really resonate. And so it's how do we create that consistency, but at the same time leave enough room for the brand's voice to shine through, or the influencer's voice, to shine through, because the influencers are influencers because they know how to engage their audience. So it's that balancing act between the brand's voice and the influencer's voice that we're constantly playing with.
That's amazing to me. And it recalls one of my favorite commercials is the Geico commercial. And I love it because they're so creative. And I never forget them, but you always have that feel. And it's not just the little lizard at the end, but it's that kind of feel and quirkiness of the commercials that make them so impactful and you don't forget them. And that's what it seems your whole crew has a good talent with, is kind of finding ways to bring out the brand real messaging that you recognize. Oh, that's Geico. Oh, that's Progressive. And at the same time, helping the creators help them get the message out as well.
Yeah,
that's great. That's totally cool. Well, for anyone out there today, if they're an influencer or if they are an advertiser, where can they go to the website to get started today and fill out that form?
Yeah, just go to openinfluence.com and just scroll down and click one of the options at the bottom.
Awesome. Well, it's been fabulous having you share today. Thank you so much for coming to share your gifts today on Savvy Business Radio.
Thank you.
Savvy Business Radio broadcasts worldwide via a large podcast network celebrating business owners, entrepreneurs, influencers, and successful individuals. Find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest. Call 732-474-7375 or email Christina@savvybusinessradio.com.